Hi, it's Marianne. Welcome to our book launch for Poetry for the Dementia Journey in AlzAuthors Anthology. This is a replay of our virtual panel discussion with many of the poets who contributed to this book. We ask you to sit back and discover the power of their words. Poetry serves as a powerful tool for conveying complex emotions and experiences related to Alzheimer's and dementia caregiving. Through evocative and heartfelt poems, caregivers and individuals impacted by these conditions can find solace and connection in shared stories. The anthology showcased in the podcast exemplifies the ability of poetry to capture and express the emotional journey of caregiving. The poets write about many of the situations common to caregivers: the impact of the initial diagnosis, moving into assisted living or memory care, saying goodbye. You will experience a myriad of emotions, from sadness to joy, despair, and hope. In the end, you will be comforted in knowing that you are not alone. Welcome to the AlzAuthors podcast. We're so glad you found us. We're the global community of authors writing about Alzheimer's and dementia from personal experience to light the way for others. I'm Marianne Sciucco, a registered nurse, author, and dementia daughter.
And I'm Christy Byrne-Yates, a licensed educational psychologist, dementia daughter, Alz author, and coach focused on the sandwich generation. Please join us for bi-weekly episodes with our authors as we talk about their dementia journeys, sharing intimate details and painfully obtained knowledge to help others currently on that path.
We hope these stories offer you comfort and support as we strive to break the silence and stigma surrounding a dementia diagnosis.
May one of our authors speak to your experience.
This is the Whole Care Network. Helping you tell your story one podcast at a time. Content presented in the following podcast is for information purposes only. Views and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of the host and guest and may not represent the views and opinions of the Whole Care Network. Always consult with your physician for any medical advice, and always consult with your attorney for any legal advice. And thank you for listening to the Whole Care Network.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to AlzAuthors Live. This is the official launch of our new poetry anthology called Poetry for the Dementia Journey. I'm Marianne Sciucco, and I am a co-founder and a manager at AlzAuthors.com. We are the global community of authors writing about Alzheimer's and dementia from personal experience to light the way for others. And our poetry anthology was born a year ago. We started gestating it when we did our National Poetry Month podcast featuring many of the poets that are in AlzAuthors. And we had about 13 books of poetry at the time, but what we didn't realize is that there were many other authors of other types of books who had also written poetry and were writing poetry. So we decided that we're going to invite everybody to come and read. So that went on for 2 hours. And we're not doing 2 hours today. We're doing 1 hour. So hopefully everybody will get a chance to read one poem and probably more. The book is available Amazon. It's in Kindle and paperback. And hopefully down the road we'll be able to publish it in another format, but we didn't get there yet. And it sells for $9.99 for the Kindle and $14.99 for the paperback. So if you're interested in purchasing it, you can do that now and have your own little copy. It's really full, I think. I'm not familiar with poetry books, but I think it's a big one. It's as far as the poems go, it's 171 pages of poems. which is I think a lot of poems. And the poems cover all the different caregiving situations, people caring for moms, dads, spouses. People have written about siblings with dementia and the different diagnoses. So Alzheimer's, dementia, Lewy body, all the different ones. So it's very comprehensive. And I thank you all for being here today to share your work. And I'm going to start with Mariana, because I think she has to leave early.
Thank you very much. So I could just get going. Okay. Yeah, I want to thank you all, and I want to especially thank the people I've worked most closely with, Sue and Marianne, for making this so very, very important. And I'm going to read my poem Diagnosis, which is from my full-length collection called The Mountains Near Hyuya, which deals with my family's struggle with early onset Alzheimer's when our children were very young, which doesn't get talked about enough, in my opinion. So, Diagnosis. The experts said they'd look at him, examine him. They talked to him, gave him tests, the written kind, and ones to show what he could recollect. They met with me and questioned me, gathering every scattered piece to solve the puzzle. They filled him up with isotopes, tagged with light and color, took pictures of his brain to see where it was living, where it was dead. They called and asked me to come in alone. We sat around a table while they tugged at files and films that showed what isotopes revealed. The PET scan was a wild splash of colors, bright and rich, framed by an edge of darkness all around the patient's brain, his brain. They cautioned me with sadness. He'll never work again. He must not drive a car. Do not leave him with the kids. We're certain what it is. The scan confirms it. Then they hit me with the words that solved the puzzle, wrecked our lives. Early onset Alzheimer's.
Wow. So powerful. Thank you so much. How about Austin, Alexis?
Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
So I'll read Dementia Intrigue. It grew up about her, like moss overtaking stones around a pond, forgetfulness, increasing erasure of events, an odd absent-mindedness she experienced as fascinating until she found the hole in her consciousness frightening. When her son mentioned the rose bush that once graced their backyard center, her mind and her face went blank until she pretended to remember. She wondered if he knew she couldn't retrieve the sense of smell. Taste was something she failed to locate anywhere in her mouth's mysterious flesh. One real day, and 15 minutes later, after letting her in, she didn't recall her daughter entering the house. Her daughter gave her a look that murmured compassion, but bellowed alarm. It grew up around her like cattails overwhelming a ditch, until her passengerways, her escapes felt cluttered, even clogged, until she didn't recognize noon. She thought 12 p.m. was midnight. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Sue Lick.
You surprised me.
Sorry.
It's okay. Yeah. So I cared for my husband during his Alzheimer's journey. This is titled You Dance. And there's an epigraph called, to love someone long term is to attend 1,000 funerals of the people they used to be. From Heidi Priebe. To love someone as they are at that moment, to treasure the look in their eyes when they see you and you see them, charges you like electricity. It lights you up. You don't walk anymore, you dance. Long term is a blessing to be sought. 10, 20, 30 years, a golden anniversary, balding, sagging in your worn skin, losing parts, accumulating scars. You see the lights flickering. Now you walk with a cane. But when the music plays, you dance. 1,000 funerals it feels some days. So many might have been. Too late. But despite their thickening cataracts, they see you. They know you. You see them back. The lights are dim, but lit. You hold on not to fall. You dance. The people they used to be have died, melted into the snow of elderhood to rise up someone new, someone who sees but doesn't know. The power has gone out. Each day is another funeral, but you hold them anyway. You dance.
Thank you so much, Sue. Gail?
Hey.
Hi.
Hello, everyone. Hi. It's good to be here. I'm going to read a poem that is in a form called a Garland, which is 6 stanzas. Each one is a cinquain, and those are just lines that have syllable counts, different syllable counts in each stanza. So this is called A Daughter's Garland. Mother, the dance reversed, spoon to mouth, shoes to feet, kisses aloud, even love words. Who's there? Mother, each day the same, in this place of hallways. Kind strangers take my place. You say, thank you. Mother, we can rest now with no expectations. The one you never knew is here with you. Mother, I stroke your arm, play your favorite songs. Your eyes are tidal, ebb and flow. Hold on. Mother, an odd mercy rains down on our gray heads, empty of memory and full at once. Mother, an odd mercy with no expectations. Your eyes are tidal, ebb and flow. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Judith Montgomery, are you ready to read?
Mother's Day at Aspen Ridge Assisted Living. My mother, decked out in gaudy sea blue beads, saved from Mardi Gras last winter, will eat nothing but a roast potato, 2 iced pastries, lifting each with a blurred "Who are you?" air. My father cuts her roasted chicken into tempting bites, but she hungers only for sweets as she slips beneath a whirlpool of otherness. Too far out for me to reach and pull her back to land, pat her dry, fetch her tea, ask about abandoned knitting. At diagnosis, she wept, she raged when they named it what she most feared in life. Now she drifts in some dead woman float, listing on her back, not knowing, no longer caring how she swept toward that foggy bank. I can't tell whether to be glad for this small mercy or heart-struck numb. Her doctors read a raft of maybe pills. None of these will keep her head above the waves. I wipe my eyes, can't bear to watch across the tablecloth. Tides seep beneath the door, rise above our knees. We hold her hands. We try to remember how to wade back to shore.
Thank you. So lovely. Anne Campanella?
Okay, this is called Child Mother, and it was in my book that was previously published, What Flies Away, published by Main Street Rag. Child Mother. She used to grip the rudder, auburn hair slicked, cheeks round and pink as two rubber balls. Duck, she'd yell when the sail swooped across us, canvas wagging for a moment like the skin on her jaw. Now she stares at the photo of the bay, her eyes pools of hazel. She grips my hand, whispers, "I think I'll walk down to the lake," her voice soft as an eddy of wind against my neck. We push through the glass doors into a gray sea of cement. Cars and vans bob like anchored boats. Her eyes calm as mist. She points. "What do you see?" I ask, squinting at a lamppost, a small tree in the distance. She waves. "Why, it's Dad, of course, but he doesn't see me." Wetness slides down the ripple of her cheek. "Will you take me to him?" I place my arm across the mast of her shoulders, walk with her into the mirage.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Margaret Stawowy?
Thanks so much. I'm going to read Mother Country. I am a language my mother forgot how to speak. She is a country engaged in a war against aging. I am her Sweden, neutral, not allied, waiting outside her boundaries for official tours to the interior, censored reports from the battle zone. Always at the ready, knowing that an offer to move a sofa, pay for lunch, give a lift from A to B could be viewed as suspect diplomacy. Aid implies weakness, an invitation to relinquish, a misstep, the first bone of independence broken. I won't be a burden to you, she declared decades back. Just put me in a nursing home when the time comes. As if that would solve decline, absolve me of my mother. I am not a spy from the Bureau of Aging plotting a coup d'etat. The misplaced keys, lost eyeglasses are mine sometimes, not hers. I am tired of neutrality, protocol, of being misinterpreted in my mother country, where I struggle in a language I must learn to speak. Thank you.
Thank you. Eileen Kennedy?
Thank you. This poem is called Ritual. You failed to eat again, accusing me of poisoning your Jell-O, chicken, rice. The food as gray as the hospital that serves it. Your gown ties, unhinged in the back, reveal your exhausted frame. You stave off imaginary flies. I try to hold you, but you push away. With waving hands, you recall the dead cow's maggots surrounded by mosquitoes from the Georgia farm of your childhood. The time you and your sister had to work the fields in boiling heat, carcass beside, sweating through your clothes. Bach's Goldberg variations leave you transfixed. The person I remember clutched in the crystal scrim of mind.
Thank you. Joy Johnston?
Hi.
AlzAuthors for hosting this reading today and for publishing this wonderful collection. I'm honored to be included. This poem is about my father who had dementia, and he was in the last month of his life. At the crossroads, I stared hard out the hospital window. That week you flatly refused to die, mocked by the Crossroads motel sign and waves of toffee-tinted mountains soaring amidst a blistering blue sky. Trapped within a broken mind, choking on splintered synapses, reduced to a series of specimens, numbers, waves, a litany of beeps and alarms, machines performing mechanical wonders only sometimes magical, like the haunting whoosh of the ventilator, performing admirably as understudy for your lungs. Another day passed without you knowing. I left you just as dusk swooped down, like a starving vulture, the cherry red bulbs of the Crossroads motel sign luridly flashing an invitation. Vacancy. Thank you.
Thank you, Joy. Okay, let's see. Sherri, you're up.
I just realized I'm actually excited to read this because I wrote this in the time of spring of several years ago when my mom was struggling with Alzheimer's, stealing flowers from the neighbors. No dark sunglasses, no hood over my head, no scissors, shopping bag slung over my shoulder. I slide behind bushes, pricked by brambles, yank and snap, rip and tear. No worry or rush or hush from the birds. Squirrels, too busy collecting nuts, don't stop on the lawn to judge. Dandelion seeds fill the air like dust. A silent sneeze, a cough caught in my throat. I crawl under towering weeds and hedges, wedge myself between rocks and prickling thorns. I do not feel the scraping of my knees or the bee sting, burn of the sun on my hatless head. Stealing flowers from the neighbors, I can only think of you in your hospice bed, your weary head waiting for me to appear. Thank you.
Thank you, Sherri. Patricia.
Hello, everybody. I'm very, very glad to join this community. My mother died, and thank you to everyone who organized this reading and the book. My mother died with Alzheimer's, and I think the most amazing discovery that I made was that she was present the entire time. Even at the very end, when it looked like she was completely gone, she was in there. This is a poem that I wrote kind of midway along that journey. But it's an example of her presence. It's called Given the Mother Word Pure. There is a word I want for something missing that isn't lost, not mislaid, slippers on a shelf, not hidden, trinkets in pockets, not absent, the way to your room. We were sitting at a table in the day room, playing with Scrabble pieces, making little words from big words. In picture, you saw pure. Then I scrambled pure to form a word you learned long ago. From the burnt out forest of your brain, a memory leapt out. Where, you said? That's a boy. In that moment, you were all girl. 14, first year Latin, swinging branch to branch. Where is the word I want for something missing that isn't lost, unseen, yet flawlessly present?
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, so somebody here is identified as iPhone. I don't know what is your name?
It's Alan. I don't know why.
Oh, hi, Alan.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. I thought it was you.
Yeah. So thank you to AlzAuthors, to Sue and Marianne. This is very, very important anthology. I'm so glad to be included in it. And the book that I wrote about the experience with my wife was published about 20 years ago by Fithian Press, but the events happened 45 years ago. And my wife had a ruptured cerebral aneurysm, that's a brain bleed, and miraculously survived. And she was pregnant. And so there was a lot of complications, medical complications and ethical complications and all kinds of things. And our son was born, and he is now about to be 45. My wife did live, but she was very minimally functional when she came out of the coma that she was in. And after lots of therapy, basically couldn't manage things, and she died. And so this poem is from, I would say, about 45 years ago. But the reason I'm telling this whole story actually about the story, but it's also that these are very traumatic things for caretakers. And so a little over a year ago, I started to have these peculiar startles. And I said, startles? What are startles? And I saw a therapist online during the pandemic, and he said, well, you've told me your story. I think it's from that time. It's kind of like PTSD, and it doesn't go away. You can write a book. You can go to therapy. It doesn't necessarily go away. So I just thought I'd say that, since this is all from a long time ago. This poem is called Boxae, which is a made-up word, B-O-X-A-E, which means plural, made up, plural boxes. Another rapid child fills a shoebox up with sand and thinks each grain a voice. This is how it is to talk to you. When I whisper in your ear, this is what hears. An undersleeping window box unlocked. A human echo cave. Ear of Dionysius, stone deaf. Fixed black box who speaks in zero. Here's messages to the dead. To your face by tearing off my last nail. Where are you traveling? In place of love, I drip the blood pail. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Kelly Dumar.
Hi, thank you. It's a pleasure, an honor to be here. Thank you, AlzAuthors, for hosting this. And I'm really delighted to be included in the anthology. The poem I'm going to read was published in Cape Cod Poetry Journal some years ago. And my father died of Alzheimer's, and while he was alive and really involved with Alzheimer's, taking him to medical appointments was, as all of you know, very challenging, because he would get very impatient or very frustrated and want to leave. And, he needed a lot of medical appointments and often had crises. So there was a woman that called Mrs. Bean, from whom, when he was a student in college, he rented a room in Cambridge, near Harvard Square. And during an appointment, he would immediately be so enraptured by the idea of remembering Mrs. Bean that we could just get him to calm right down. So this poem is dedicated for Mrs. Bean, and it's called Mrs. Bean's Snow. A story is an anchor, he drifts. A story is a map, his direction is lost. Mrs. Bean is a story. A name is a compass. A street is a library. Her home is a borrowed book. Story runs in circles. Her driveway is a place to park. A river runs past him. Brattle runs from Harvard Yard to Mrs. Bean. Any ordeal is a landmark. A crisis has an ending, and before that, a test. Once upon a time, a pond freezes in winter. Within walking distance grows a boy with skates. This story has a sister. A hero may be rescued more than once. A story is a goal held by a net. Hockey is a game you win on ice. A threshold is college after a war. A dormitory houses students with treasure. A Brahmin can be a widow who lets rooms. Young men of a certain character may call it home. A battlefield is an ice rink. A collarbone broken is a setback. A nurse can be a sister who is called. Comfort is a cast, but it's not an elixir. In snowy storms, a driveway is a hurdle. A stunning blow is one useful arm and a shovel. A calling can be a lady in distress. A shovel of snow must be lifted. A shovel of snow must be heaved. A shovel of snow must be lifted. A shovel of snow must be moved. One arm can lift, one foot can heave. There are so many shovels of strong. A driveway is a place you can leave and return. A river runs from mine to hers. Home is a place to find what you give. A listener longs for story. An elixir is how it tells you. Telling loves Mrs. Bean's snow.
Thank you. So is there anyone else who didn't get a chance to read one poem yet? I think we got it.
Hi. My name's
Renee.
I don't know if you even see me because I am very illiterate when it comes to this protocol. So I don't know if you see me or not. Can you even hear me?
I can hear you, and I saw you, but now I don't see you. So you must have shut off your video somehow.
Oh, let me go over here.
There you go.
Can you see me now?
Yes.
Oh, great. So shall I?
Yes, please.
Great. First off, thank you so very much. This is such a my father used to always say to me, my kidneys are behind my eyes, and he's right. So it's, I'm not very good at this, but this is such a wonderful gift that you give. And for that, I thank you. This particular poem I wrote during my mom's dementia. She had it for 10 years. And I missed her so deeply. Though I know she was there, the dynamic changed, of course. And I missed speaking with her and hearing her motherly responses. So one day I chose to write this poem as if it were her speaking to me. It's called Life. Life, be kind to me. My memories are fading. Yesterday's flow into today, leaving tomorrow a mystery. Thoughts scatter from the corners of my mind and vanish as quickly as they appear. I sometimes fail, but I will always feel. Thank you.
Thank you. So did everyone get a chance now to read at least one time? Okay, so we can start again. Eileen, you still have your hand up. Are you prepared for another round?
I just want to say that this is about my ex, who was a brilliant mathematics professor. End of day. After advanced mathematics, the graduate assistant writes out the error on the blackboard. A silent vulture with wings, his hearing flies. He no longer hears his name. Words follow careening Arabians. Externum, rational, function. Language lost. The stable hollow. Now the slight light comes through the window in his hospital room, afternoon to evening, the winds of ceasing day.
Thank you. Mariana?
I would like to read a short poem.
Okay.
And this is in the wonderful book. And just to preface this, one of the things that happens when you get an early onset Alzheimer's diagnosis, when you have a family with children, in other words, when you have a young family, is you become immediately both a caregiver and a single parent. And let me tell you, either one of those is tremendously challenging. So to have them at the same time in a world that doesn't get it at all, in a world that even within the Alzheimer's world, there's very little sort of understanding or recognition of the realities of early onset Alzheimer's, it's quite hard. So anyway, this poem is called All the Books, and it has the epigraph, upon searching for children's books on early onset Alzheimer's. All the books say Grandpa. Grandpa can't remember things. Grandpa gets confused. Grandpa can't drive anymore or take you to the park. Books that help the grandchild see that Grandpa's sick and just can't be the grandpa that he was. What an empty shelf we find in bookstores and in libraries when looking for a way to tell the child what's wrong with Daddy.
Thank you so much. Austin?
This reading is really giving me ideas for new poems. So thank you so much. My mother passed away about 9 years ago, and this poem was written about a year after that. The patient. Nearly everything you gaze at turns into something else. The ceiling, a cross-hatching of wires. The bed, a treacherous grid bursting with glistening electrodes, controlled by the invisible them. A group only you perceive. Mostly you sit and stare and sit among teddy bear pillows, crushed by your clutching. You blink and recognize what you see, blink again and then glare at someone you don't recognize, though 2 doctors say the mysterious person is your son. Should you believe your hazy lenses or the conspiring hospital staff? For you, the question isn't rhetorical. It simply doesn't get answered. Take that ugly painting down, you demand, speaking of a hospital chart. Your son stares at you with tired care. All his energy goes into hesitation. Then you command not a nurse, but the universe to bring you pineapples, a new obsession among many. You chant about, your voice hijacked by mantras. Your night visions also take the foreground. To you, your dreams are more real than reality. After all, you can't tell the difference. You see your breasts but still believe the nightmare that says harsh doctors cut them off. The fantasy that your cousin stole your dentures corners you in a war zone of mistrust. You are a terrorist of yourself, lunging at your days with a machete, throwing a soda can bomb into the rickety structure that is your life. Thanks.
Thank you. Gail?
Hi. This poem is called Alchemy. There must be a hunger potion in this food, says the child of my child, as she eats another plate of meatballs, a riff on my Italian mother who charmed my German father with a few peasant dishes learned from her mother, who never finished school, but wearing a sauce-stained apron, spun out pizzas, dripping with mozzarella and salami, savory rounds of locatelli-crusted bread, and cappelletti floating like lilies in broth. No recipe in sight. My grandmother kneaded and rolled out dough, filled tiny pillows with meat, spinach, and cheese, draped pale noodle strips over the backs of chairs, while sauce bubbled in a copper-bottomed cauldron for hours. And though Mother vowed to be modern, with recipes clipped from ladies' magazines to test on her pinochle crowd, the old dishes bewitched us, redolent of garlic, onions, marjoram, basil, sweating in butter. The brew simmered on Saturday as we stood in line for confession, our reward, served after Sunday Mass. When grandmother went blind from diabetes, my mother policed all sweets until years later, her mind irreversibly tangled. She forgot the salt, collected twist ties, peppered the kitchen with yellow Post-its scrawled with jumbled letters. Like an intoxicated lover, she craved sugar, jammed the freezer with Rocky Road and vanilla fudge, stashed Snickers in drawers. Lunch and dinner meaningless. She served chocolate and caramel elixirs until she was lost. I imagine her at this table, set with the pink flowered plates I claimed, as great-grandchildren pronounce the meatballs magical. And next to her, her mother's flour-dusted hands gesture a sign for forgiveness. Mangiamo.
Thank you so much. Alan.
So this poem is from the same collection, which I forgot to mention the name, No, the Saddest. And it's a laundry poem. It's called Dream of Tangles. Now, downstairs with the laundry, I hear again your voice softly tell. I see the long, large sheets placed apart in the large load after the long spin, have found each other through the little pieces, underwear, cases, light socks, snaking toward, then tying in a swirl together till I unwind them and they dry, tumbling apart. Thank you.
Thank you. Judith.
Try this again. Now I'm unmuted finally. One of the things I noticed with my mom, and I imagine all of you went through this, is that there's such different ranges of feeling. My mother was very depressed to begin with, and very angry. Then there was a sort of floaty stage, then happy, and then there were other things at the end. But this poem sometimes is from the floaty stage. Sometimes, an indigo cloak clasped at her paper throat, my mother is stepping deep and deeper into a mute forest, winglit with a basket of seeds clutched in her hand. Once in a while, she remembers and scoops deep into the swirl and gathers a handful to sow all about her, strewing the path with her time-tested mix of dun pearls of millet, of Ethiopian Niger tiny as rice, the richest black oil sunflower seeds, and so making a feast under her feet to delight the rose-breasted house finches, arrow-tailed swifts, her juncos, her mourning doves calling, "Where are you? Where are you?" as they light her path into thickening woods. Sometimes she stops to consider the narrowing way to right and left, storm-felled trunks stitched with sword fern and moss, straddled by opportune alder, ahead a dim bramble of brush. Sometimes my mother looks back, turns around, slippered feet tentative over awkward ground laced with uneven root wad and rock under drifts of soft duff. The vine maples reddened and tumbling leaves brush her wrist, and she stops to point out the flutter, color, and call of so many birds to my father, although he is not on the path she follows into the tangled heart of the forest, close and damp after rain. These woods, vines and branches, holes and encroaching thickets, hers alone, where he cannot follow. Now, streaking the dusk, one cardinal flares far from their New England home, scarlet-headed and cloaked, plump ensign who darts in and out of the cumulate dark to light on her shoulder. And she feels how she flies wordless under his heart, how she enters his heart, and he hers. She picks up the basket, steps on into twilight, the cardinal weeping, his red vest sweeping and lighting the one-way one.
Thank you. Kelly, did you want to read another one?
Yes, thank you. I will read another one for my father. It's in his voice. How he asks, "Where did you come from? By this, I mean, what fills your days, and how did you lose me? I mean, when did I leave you, and how did you find me somewhere? Let's go back to the beginning. How did you get here? By this, I mean, tell me how I brought you into this world, and what are you doing with this life you've been given? Are you doing the wonderful I knew you could do? There's something you forgot. By this, I mean, tell me the news of all the everyone we have back where, who matters so much, and when can I see them to tell them how whistling and crackling and sunny they are? Are you leaving? Let's go back to the beginning. Where did you come from? Did you come in a car? Take me home now so you'll see how we got here from there. And by this I mean, do you know how much your life matters?"
Thank you so much. Next is Anne and then Margaret.
Okay. My mom had Alzheimer's for 14 years. And during that time, there were several instances when we thought we were going to lose her. But this poem is actually about her last few days. It's called Beyond Words. Now the breath speaks, the body low and flaccid, arms almost limp, fingers curled in a clasp. Blood still flows, warming the feet and hands. We watch her skin for the modeling that is said to come. No food and water for 5 days. Nothing has passed her lips, save the swab, soft moans, and the whisper of air. She has left words behind while I retreat to my center, the ball I curled into as a child when I was hurt, and further inward, the sensation of being carried in her arms and pressed against her breast, further even to the womb's rocking. She is moving to a place of rebirth, the slow leaving of the body, cell by cell, organ by organ, giving herself back to her maker. I am beside her on this journey and not half my life unlived. Her breath quickens, a crescendo. In the stillness, we wait. Thank you.
Thank you. Margaret?
Okay. So this poem, Signs of Her Decline, is ostensibly about my mother and her decline, but I think it's also about me coming out of denial. So Signs of Her Decline. 1. Just last month, you believed when she said, I'll get to it. But the pile of mail on her table, a growing, droning wasp's nest, late fees swarming. For her, calendars, checkbooks, now wispy, shifting notions, cirrus clouds on a windy day. Regarding wasps, she was once told, ignore them, they will go away. 2. She said she has no use for meat, vegetables, water. In her refrigerator, always an icebox, drawers of exquisite decay, pungent pools of liquefied produce, bearded fruit, fuzzy bread. Only sugar is essential, dazzling as diamonds on a tarnished tongue. 3. Under ideal conditions, dust will prosper, grow into elegant velvet across each surface. Her home, a sour rhapsody sung from a stale mouth. Underfoot, a stanza written in crumbs and grit. A memory of order cancels out dirt, enables her dismissal of housework. In the bathroom, dried excreta on the commode, evaporations of salt on the floor. Down the drain, a dirge gurgles. Her future is murky. 4. When picking her up at noon, just say, at the sun's brilliant rapture, because time's gone pale, silverfish quick, eluding capture. Naked, she sits, trapped, as if stitched in a pocket. She tugs at the tangled knots between concepts. Wastebasket is to thicket as thought is to... She parses her choices. Finally, a key turns. The door opens. It is you, her youngest, but no longer young. The room overcast, clouds form between you. You said you'd be down in a few minutes, because what else can you say to your naked mother? 5. Pills are like pins that once swallowed, lead to punctured beliefs, how the body impermanent deflates. Blood floods, retreats, chokes avenues in the brain. Power grids dim, one block at a time. Prescriptions lined up Monday to Sunday, forgotten in their plastic coffins. 6. For her, the stains on her clothes only a matter of perception. At the market, in ragged pajamas, she pushes her walker down aisles, searching for past, present, future. She once found solutions in magazines, ways to fix flabby disappointments, uncombed goals. Later, the store manager will recount how she blacked out, and when she came to, insisted there was no one to call. 7. All around her, family photos like a shrine. Faces shine through black and white memory. Events of mourning, as lost as her hearing aid, forgotten as her cast-off eyeglasses. She sits in her chair, weeps for all that was, those beautiful moments from long ago, more real than today, more real than you. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you so much. So it looks like we're at the end of our hour, and I hope everybody had a chance to read what they wanted. And I thank you so much for joining us and for sharing your beautiful work and your stories. That's what AlzAuthors is. We collect stories from the Alzheimer's and dementia caregiving world, and we hope to try to eliminate some of the silence and stigma that often accompanies a dementia diagnosis, as we all know, and have dealt with on our own. So we appreciate your being a part of our mission and so generously sharing what you have written with us. Does anybody have any other comments or?
I just wanted to say thank you again. This is Renee, and I don't know if you see me, but
we see your name.
Okay, good. I obviously don't know how to do this Zoom, and all I have is my iPhone, so please forgive my ignorance. But once again, thank you so very much. Had I had a place to land like your company during the time of my mom's dementia, it would have made so much difference, and for that I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. That's why we exist, right, Anne?
Absolutely. That's why we do this work.
Well,
yes.
And it's wonderful to see the faces as well as hear the voices and the words. It's really nice to put a face to each of these, online like this. So thank you for putting it together.
Thank you. So maybe work on some new poems. So when we get together next year, we can do this again.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Maybe I'll write a poem.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much.
All right.
I enjoyed it so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Caregiving is a challenge, whether your person has dementia or not. Finding helpful tips and learning new strategies from people in the know is critical. That's why we at AlzAuthors love the Happy Healthy Caregiver podcast from Elizabeth Miller, who also happens to be an AlzAuthor. Elizabeth speaks from experience and has important and often fun conversations with other caregiving experts and professionals. And we appreciate learning tips on self-care, discovering new resources, and feeling empowered to support ourselves as caregivers. You can find the Happy Healthy Caregiver podcast wherever you download your favorite podcasts, or visit the website happyhealthycaregiver.com.
Hi, this is Vicki Tapia from AlzAuthors. If you're a caregiver looking for support on your dementia journey, please visit our website at AlzAuthors.com. You'll find hundreds of resources written by caregivers and professionals in Alzheimer's and dementia care to offer you knowledge, comfort, and guidance in an easily accessible format. That's AlzAuthors.com. Remember, you are not alone.
Thank you for listening to Untangling Alzheimer's and Dementia, an AlzAuthors podcast. For more details on this episode, please see the show notes. If you enjoyed the podcast, please leave a review and subscribe to it on whichever platform you use to listen to your favorite podcasts. For more information on AlzAuthors, please visit AlzAuthors.com. While you're there, be sure to browse our online bookstore, where you will find hundreds of carefully vetted books on Alzheimer's and dementia. You can also find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Please email your thoughts on the podcast to alzauthors@gmail.com. We are a 501c3 charitable organization, totally reliant on donations to do what we do. If our authors' stories move you, please consider contributing to our cause. Remember, you are not alone. One can sing a lonely song, but we chose to form a choir and create harmony.